Gold Coast. The consequences devastating, with homes crushed by falling branches. Tens of thousands are without power and fearing what's still to come.
Not looking forward to tonight because we've got like windows all around.
Scott Maxwell was lucky to escape uninjured when a huge tree fell on his Currumbin home.
I woke up at 2 o'clock this morning with a loud thud and the whole house shook.
The savage conditions taking even experienced hands off guard.
I'm used to cyclones. I come from Magnetic Island, North Queensland, so Category 5. I wasn't worried about Category 2. I should have been.
The Gold Coast's famous beaches unrecognisable.
Noted, and we'll be sure that the rest of the team sees them as well, because we fully understand that this is our role, but the fact that so many of you are actually drawing value out of what we're doing is certainly encouraging for us here at the ABC. And not only ABC Radio, tonight we're actually broadcasting on ABC News Channel, and that's how some of you are actually watching us or engaging with us at the moment. And just as Byrne read out those 6 texts, another 16 came into the inbox. So we're not going to be able to read all your texts out this evening, but we do value every single one of them. We do have time to take one more call before we get the latest news from Christy Sexton McGrath. She's providing us updates throughout the evening, and the next one coming up in just 4 minutes' time. Liana's with us now on this special emergency broadcast as Tropical Cyclone Alfred begins to cross the coast. G'day, Liana.
Hi.
Where are you at the moment?
I'm in Ellen Grove.
And tell us what you're seeing.
I'm not seeing much. There's not a lot of street lights or anything where I am, so it's very, very dark. Just a lot of noise. There's lots of trees around. So I just moved in here to the house I'm in like 2 days ago, so I have no idea what's around me. It's very exciting and scary at the same time.
How do you describe the noise you're hearing? Can you put words to the experience?
Lots of big, like, eucalyptus trees and, like, palm trees around me and stuff. So very rustly, I would say. Like, there's not a lot of rain at the moment. I think it's, like, in a bit of a chill at the moment. But it was very heavy before, and I'm expecting it's probably going to get very heavy again.
And you just moved into this new home?
I did, yeah. So it's just me and my 2 cats. All of my furniture and stuff hasn't got in here yet, or my housemate. They're both stuck in Brisbane still. And, yeah, because all the movers and stuff cancelled because there's an upcoming cyclone. So it's just me, a mini fridge, and 2 cats.
And how are the cats coping?
They're doing all right, as much as 2 cats can be. One's basically a support animal for me. She's up with me all the time, just purring. The other one is getting a little bit spooked by some of the noises, but they're managing. They've got food. They're happy. They're just in the bedroom with me. It's the only room I've got anything in, so I figured that's my safest room at the moment. So
They always say that the kids take their cues from the adults in extreme weather, particularly cyclones. So if you're calm, even if you're just outwardly calm, you might not be inwardly calm, but if you're outwardly calm, the kids will be calmer. But I don't know about cats. I can't speak to cats. Maybe you can.
They basically are my children. So I think they've definitely had some of my emotions rub off on them, I think.
All right. Well, Jess, Alfred might have spoiled the housewarming party for now, Liana, but when you get through this, I'm sure you're going to be able to really christen the house and enjoy it.
Once I can leave the house, I'll definitely be buying some drinks and celebrating, because I've been stuck in here since the day I moved in. So.
Timing, everything. That's what they say when it comes to property, don't they? So hopefully there won't be another cyclone for another 50 years to worry about where you are.
I would like to hope so.
All right, Liana, thank you.
Thank you.
That's Liana with us, and we've got so many people calling at the moment as well. We can't take all your calls to air, but please keep calling on 1300 222 612. Only a minute and a half to the news. Byrne, you were just going to remind our audience there's many ways to listen tonight.
Yeah, well, especially as we have this wind and rain now really going over parts of Brisbane, should you find that your AM broadcast is not quite up to scratch for you, we have an FM opportunity as well. We have 612 AM, of course, in Brisbane, but also 106.1 FM, which is usually Classic FM. Thank you to our Classic FM colleagues who have just let us take over that for a little while. If you want to hear Classic FM, you can still on Channel 27 on the TV and on the Listen app, but we are also on 106.1 FM around Brisbane, and that's a way to get this coverage that you need right through the night for the crossing now of Tropical Cyclone Alfred.
And we'll have a new update on Cyclone Alfred while the news is on or immediately after. So we'll hear from the Bureau soon after our news bulletin that's coming up. Just a quick text here from Lucy and Bell at Hawthorn saying, can people stay off the roads during these winds? We keep seeing people who are driving around and we're very concerned. It is silly to be out driving around in these conditions. They're still strong enough to knock over a tree. You do not want to be on the roads at the moment. Let's get the latest news with Christy Sexton McGrath. It's 2 o'clock in Queensland and 3 o'clock in New South Wales.
ABC News, good morning. I'm Christy Sexton McGrath. Cyclone Alfred has been downgraded to a Category 1 system as it crosses the Moreton Bay Islands. The Bureau of Meteorology says it's still producing strong winds with gusts of up to 100 kilometres an hour. It predicts it will cross the mainland between Maroochydore and Brisbane during the morning and continue to weaken as it moves inland. Senior forecaster Dean Narramore says while strong winds are of current concern, heavy rainfall will persist for several days.
The centre of circulation, the eye, it's important to note there's no weather in the middle of it. The worst of the weather is always to the west and south of the tropical cyclone. Good news is Category 1 means destructive winds are unlikely, but we're seeing widespread damaging winds at the moment. But those really strong bands that are wrapping around the cyclone are going to continue moving west and northwest.
Kim from Margate, north of Brisbane, has told local Radio Queensland winds have picked up.
It's really picked up. I think the eye must have gone over, just everything went really weird and quiet. It hit again and, the winds are gusting at over 100 k's here.
Marion Simon lives on the Gold Coast and manages holiday apartments at Broadbeach.
When you're up on those top floors and that wind is moving, I don't know if it's psychological, but you can feel that building swaying. Now it's kind of got that eerie silence. It's gone quiet and it's dark because a lot of the buildings around us are without power.
While Tropical Cyclone Alfred has been downgraded to a Category 1 system, authorities are warning residents across southeast Queensland and northern New South Wales not to become complacent. Kavi Akbari reports.
Brisbane and Moreton City Councils have updated their alerts to take shelter now, as Cyclone Alfred's destructive winds, storm surges and torrential rain push further south than expected. In northern New South Wales, the SCS has ordered evacuations for the Bellinger River Tourist Park at Repton and low-lying areas on Kivers Drive, warning that floodwaters will soon cut off escape routes. An evacuation centre is now open on Morgo Street in Urunga, south of Coffs Harbour, with emergency crews urging at-risk residents to leave while conditions allow, despite the cyclone being downgraded. Authorities warn that those who stay risk becoming trapped without power, water or emergency services as conditions deteriorate.
About 200,000 homes and businesses are now without power in Queensland and northern New South Wales. The Bureau of Meteorology has downgraded Alfred to the Category 1 system, with destructive winds and torrential rain expected during the next 24 to 36 hours. Queensland Premier David Crisafulli says generators have been deployed and power will be turned on to support key infrastructure.
The reason why that happened is because you've had with the wind, trees have come over and knocked those power lines. We have pre-positioned generators in some of those key areas and we will, the moment it's safe, obviously they will be turned on to some of those key infrastructure.
More than 1,000 schools in the affected area are closed alongside over 2,000 early childhood centres. Further announcements about their status will be made on Sunday. To other news now, and retiring Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has vowed to continue putting Canadians first as he prepares to step down after a decade as the head of Canada's Liberal Party. With the party's popularity declining, the 53-year-old announced in January that he would be resigning on March 24 to allow a leadership election take place. As Canada deals with 25% tariffs imposed by US President Donald Trump, Mr. Trudeau has vowed to keep fighting for his country until his final day as Prime Minister.
On a personal level, I've made sure that every single day in this office, I put Canadians first, that I have people's backs. And that's why I'm here to tell you all that we got you. Even in the very last days of this government, we will not let Canadians down today and long into the future.
To Queensland's weather, and as you've heard, Tropical Cyclone Alfred is a Category 1 system and is expected to cross the mainland coast between Maroochydore and Brisbane early this morning. It will weaken as it moves inland late Saturday or Sunday. Temperatures: Cairns, Townsville 33, Mackay 32, Brisbane 22 to 25, the Gold Coast 23 to 25. This is ABC News.
Everything you need to know about Cyclone Alfred on 612 ABC Radio Brisbane and Queensland.
And for our listeners in cyclone-affected areas in New South Wales, for our listeners around Australia and the world, and that's not me being an egomaniac and thinking that everything I say is listened to by every person around the world, that's you texting us, telling us you're tuning in from London, Japan, France, Canada, New Zealand. Interstate, we've had listeners in Perth, Adelaide, Canberra, Darwin, all texting through, many of you with family and friends in the area that's being impacted by Cyclone Alfred right now. Has it begun to cross the mainland? We'll be asking Dean Narramore because some of your lived experience shared with us in the last hour would indicate that at least maybe the start of the eye is beginning to make it past Moreton Bay and onto the mainland. But let's find out what the Bureau is actually seeing officially and whether it marries up with some of your experiences that you're sharing with us on 1300 222 612. So the text line has been hot, and there's no way we can say across every text and read it out. Just too many have been coming in. But a few that I can get to now. Sav says, we've had sudden calm over Ashgrove, and I wonder if it's the eye or just a small break in the wind and the rain. Well, we'll find out exactly where the eye is when I speak to Dean Narramore in a minute. My name is Emma Blunt from North Lakes. I'm tucked in bed with both my young kids. It's so loud here, yet still they sleep. A restless night for me, wishing everyone the best. Isn't it good, Emma, when the kids can sleep through a cyclone? You've done a good job sleep training, and by the sounds of things. Lucy says, Brizzy girl, also listening closely from London, family all in Brisbane, thinking of everyone. I experienced Cyclone Winston in Fiji, so I can empathise with how scary it is. And I'm in Marsden Logan, says one of you. Frangipani tree is down in the backyard. Strong winds, but we still have power. Well, there's so much to talk about in relation to the actual cyclone itself, but we do have quite a few emergency warnings that we need to keep you across. And my co-host, Bern Young, is going to do that right now.
ABC Radio Emergency Information.
Yeah, thanks very much, Adam. Well, we clearly have a cyclone warning at the moment that remains active, and we're about to hear from the Bureau of where this Category 1 system is, Tropical Cyclone Alfred. But the most important part of the cyclone warning right now for parts of Queensland and New South Wales is the heavy to locally intense rainfall, which may lead to dangerous and life-threatening flash flooding. It's likely to increase throughout today. Once Alfred does cross the coast, and we'll find out in a moment if perhaps it has, it is likely to weaken below tropical cyclone strength later today. But as I said, you'll hear those details from the Bureau of Meteorology in just a moment. Other warnings, though. In Queensland, there are emergency take shelter now warnings in place for Brisbane, Moreton Island, Moreton Bay, Redland Island communities and mainland, and the Gold Coast. And an emergency warning too dangerous to leave for Currumbin Valley on the Gold Coast. There are also multiple watch and act warnings in place. Can I ask you to check your local council disaster dashboard? And I hope you have already asked to be on their alert system, in which case every local alert is coming to your phone or your email, if indeed you still have a phone connection and you have internet access as well. If you don't, stay with us here on ABC Gold Coast, ABC Radio, sorry, I'm usually on ABC Gold Coast, that slipped out, didn't it? ABC Radio, and we will keep you up to date on the most threatening warnings. So in New South Wales, the SES warnings, several warnings are still active for New South Wales. An emergency warning, move to higher ground, is current for people in Arrawarra Beach, Darlington Beach and surrounding areas. An emergency warning, take shelter now, is still in effect at Darkwood, Thora, Upper Thora and Arama due to isolating rising major flooding. And at the same time, an emergency warning, move to higher ground, remains current for residents at South Lismore and surrounding areas. And residents at Glenray Village and surrounds should shelter now with an emergency warning in place. And finally, an emergency evacuate warning before 8 a.m. today, local time in Mullumbimby and surrounding areas. They are some of the serious warnings for New South Wales. There are multiple emergency warnings for many locations as far south as North Haven near Port Macquarie. For maps and more details, go to the SES New South Wales website or download the New South Wales Hazards Near Me app if you have that capability at this time. There are a number of major flood warnings for Queensland, including the Logan and Bremer River, as well as Worrell Creek. And in New South Wales, there's major flooding occurring on the Tweed, Wilsons, Bellinger, Brunswick, Nambucca, Richmond and Orara Rivers and Marshalls Creek as well. As I said, we're very keen to get this latest update from the Bureau. And Adam, you have Angus Hines with you.
I do indeed. And it's great to get Angus on the program. We'll find out exactly what Cyclone Alfred has done in the last hour. Angus Hines, welcome to our special emergency broadcast this evening.
Yeah, morning Adam, morning Bern. Hope you guys are holding up all right tonight.
Yeah, well, this is what we do. Angus, like you, this is why we're here. At times like this, you need to convey important information. We facilitate that, and so many people are wondering what's actually happened with this system. And I just want to set the scene for you. Over the last hour, and these are anecdotal reports, but over the last hour, people have begun to wonder whether the eye has indeed passed over those Moreton Bay Islands, and is now actually beginning to interact with the coast. Some people on the coast immediately adjacent to those islands have reported that it's gotten quiet. So, Angus, have we started to see the eye of the cyclone interacting with the mainland?
I'm not quite sure if it's quite on the mainland yet. Certainly getting close. It has been crossing over Moreton Island out there off of the coast there. It's sort of done the full crossing of that particular island and is now making its way across Moreton Bay, heading towards the likes of Redcliffe, north of Brisbane, perhaps even a touch further north, Bribie Island, kind of the path that it's tracking at the moment. Not as far north as the Sunshine Coast. So between Redcliffe and the Sunshine Coast is the way it's tracking. It is still out over those Moreton Bay waters now, but really in the next couple of hours, as you say, it's not far away from the mainland, and it will start to make its way onshore. And yeah, people directly in the path there may well notice those winds die out as the centre of the tropical cyclone does cross overhead. It's still pretty gusty through spots like Redcliffe. I think I just saw a 90-kilometre gust there in the last few minutes. So still blowing pretty strongly for some of those coastal spots near the path of the tropical cyclone. It will make its way onshore over the next few hours. And for some people, who are right in the middle of it, it might feel like it's all said and done if things do ease off. But that is certainly not to be the case as the tropical cyclone continues to move on through. That lull will only last for a short while before conditions will whip back up once again on the trailing edge of the cyclone as it passes overhead.
Now, Angus, you and I have covered a few cyclones in our time as broadcaster and meteorologist. I remember when we were on air not long ago for Cyclone Kirrily, it seemed like quite a big system and had a very well-defined eye. It was a Category 2 cyclone that crossed at Townsville. This was a Category 2 earlier in the evening and had a very defined eye. Is it a big eye? Is this a big system, even as a Category 1?
The eye itself is starting to lose a bit of shape, actually, as it was interacting with those islands. It was perhaps 30 kilometres, something like that, across, but it's starting to lose a little bit of shape and get a bit covered up with cloud and rainfall, so a bit hard to make out the exact size of that part of the tropical cyclone. But of course the influence extends much, much beyond what we would just call the eye of the tropical cyclone, and we're seeing the heavy rain, the strong winds extend down hundreds of kilometres, because it's deeply into parts of New South Wales as well. So it's still a big weather system. We do see the eye being losing a bit of shape perhaps, but as a weather system as a whole, still very powerful, still very large, and still set to impact a large part of eastern Australia, both Queensland and New South Wales, through the morning today and then through the weekend as well, with heavy rain becoming the primary threat in the coming few days.
And quite a lot of concern in the Northern Rivers area about some of the rivers that were in massive flood in 2022. We've had callers in, we've had a caller in Lismore saying that at the moment their river's at moderate level, but they don't need much more for it to go into the major flood level. That then becomes a concern for South Lismore and people that were told to leave. And just looking at this system, there's still so much moisture attached to this system, Angus, and huge bands of rain coming onto the coast. We're also seeing a lot of shower activity off the coast of northern New South Wales that is yet to make its way onto the coast. How much longer could we see this sustained heavy rainfall?
There's a lot of rain to come. You're absolutely right on the money there. It's going to be wet for a long time. For some places it will be wet through the majority of the weekend. Of course, it's only early on Saturday, so wet through all of the day today and much of the day tomorrow. And particularly for New South Wales, we could see, even once Alfred loses its shape and is hard to pick out on the satellite, we'll still see a lot of leftover moisture continuing to feed rainfall onto northeastern parts of the state there. So wet for the next couple of days, several hundred more millimetres still to come. As you say, the rivers are rising quickly, moderate to major flooding already being experienced across some rivers, with further rises forecast to happen through today and through the coming days as well. So we do anticipate many of those rivers across New South Wales to reach major flood levels in the next few days, if not today. And then it will still be wet for tomorrow. It will still be wet for Sunday. We'll probably start to see the intensity of rain really dial back for Monday and Tuesday, but could still be some further showers. It's a long time until we'll see all of that moisture clear away.
Angus, it's very rare that we go into Friday night, Saturday morning looking forward to Monday. We usually like Saturday and Sunday, but actually I'm looking forward to Monday and Tuesday. The weekend can go away, thanks very much. Angus, can I just ask you a question? It's Bern Young with you as well. And we had this caller from Margate, which is, as you know, is the Redcliffe Peninsula, Margate Beach. And they were so certain that they'd had these ferocious winds and then it cleared and it was so, she described it just like people describe an eye. And then it started, howling again. But do you think that's possibly was an eye or no?
No, I don't think so. We can still sort of see the eye. You can still see the rain rotating around it if you look at the radar imagery of what's going on across southeast Queensland, and we can still see that rotation is really centred over the Moreton Bay waters. There could have been a little bit temporary lull there in between the different bands of rainfall, and the wind could have just dropped out for a little while, but it looks like it has picked up across that area, across that Redcliffe Peninsula at the moment, but it may well drop out in a couple of hours as it does get closer and cross through.
Yeah, so you would say more at the moment it's probably just past Tangalooma almost at this moment, as when you look at that circular pattern. I know it's hard to see the eye, but if you know where Tangalooma is, sort of halfway along Moreton Island, you'd say it's just the other side of that, just west of that?
Yeah, just come out the western side of Moreton Island. It is a bit tricky to make out, but I don't think that circulation has reached the mainland yet.
No, all right. So we're still waiting for the system to officially cross. Angus Hines is our senior forecaster at the Bureau of Meteorology. We certainly couldn't be doing our coverage without your expertise, Angus. So thank you to you and your colleagues, and thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having us, and we'll keep touching base through the night.
Yeah, we'll have another update, of course, from the bomb, and we'll have more warnings as they come in as well and when needed here on ABC Radio Brisbane, ABC Radio Gold Coast, Sunshine Coast, ABC North Coast, in Grafton, Coffs Harbour, Port Macquarie and Taree. You're listening across so many AM and FM bands on digital radio and perhaps even on 106.1 FM, which ordinarily would, Adam, be my mother's favourite moment that I was actually on Classic FM. I finally made it for her. I'm on Classic FM without playing any classical music. Sorry, Mum. Instead, I'm talking to Kathy, who's at Russell Islands. Kathy, hello, and what are you experiencing there? Because, of course, the islands are the first to have felt the force. What's happening there now?
It's pretty quiet at the moment, but, oh, my gosh, at about 9 o'clock, it just came on so quick. I'm sort of up the other end of where the ferries pull in, like right up on the hill, and, yeah, it was quite scary.
Yeah, give me a little bit more of an idea of what was happening. Was the rain coming at the same time? Was it just the winds? Any idea of the strength?
Well, I was in the eye of Cyclone Yasi, and I was in a pretty secure home, and I tell you what, I prefer to be in that than this. Yeah, this house is a lot older, and it was definitely moving. I actually thought I was going to lose my roof at one stage. I was in the laundry. It was quite scary.
Yeah, I think, Kathy, you've picked up on something that is so real for so many people who are listening right now. And I've said it before, we're not built for this. It's a bit like when we get a really, cold few winters day in Queensland and people in Melbourne sort of laugh at us. But that's because our homes are built for the summer and we've got drafts coming in left, right and centre. Our homes have not been built for cyclone conditions. And so we feel vulnerable in them. And we've got the trees around us that perhaps if we got cyclones every summer, you wouldn't have them in those particular spots. But this is just so highly unusual. Are you on your own there, Kathy? Are you safe?
I look after an elderly gentleman who I put in the house in a secure spot, but I just sat on my own in the laundry and, rode it out.